There is a legal document with your signature on it. You signed it years ago, maybe decades ago. Standing at a counter, a teller smiled and slid the paper across. You signed where the X was, and you never read a single page of it. Almost nobody does, but inside that document, you agreed to things you would never agree to if anyone had said them out loud. You agreed that the bank can reach into your account and take your money to pay itself. No judge, no warning, no permission needed. You agreed that if your account goes quiet for too long, the bank can hand every dollar of it to the state government while you are still alive. And you agreed that the bank can rewrite any rule in that document anytime it wants, and your continued silence counts as a yes. That document is called a deposit account agreement. Every bank in America has one. Yours is 30, 40, 50 pages long, and it was written by lawyers who work for the bank. Not one of them works for you. My name is Kevin. Today I am walking you through 7 things buried in that agreement, and in the quiet habits of the banking business, that your bank is never going to sit you down and explain. Not because your teller is dishonest. Your teller is probably a lovely person, but because explaining these 7 things costs the bank money every single time, and no business volunteers to lose money. Now, if this is your first time here, this channel exists for one reason. The rules that quietly move money away from retirees are all written down somewhere. I find where. I read the pages nobody reads, and I put them in plain English before they cost you. If that is the kind of neighbor you want looking out for you, subscribe now so the next warning reaches you in time. 2 things to hold on to before we start. First, near the end of this video, there is a bonus, a free government website where the states are holding more than $70 billion that belongs to ordinary Americans. Roughly 1 in 7 people has money sitting there. Many of them are seniors. Some of it may have your name on it, or the name of a husband or wife you lost. 5 minutes to check, completely free. Stay for that. Second, there is a scam circling that exact bonus in 2026. Companies charging seniors a cut of their own money to do what takes 5 minutes for free. I will show you how to spot it in 1 sentence. Now, thing number 1, the clause that lets your bank pay itself first. Deep inside your deposit agreement, there is a paragraph called the right of setoff. Here is what it says, in plain English. If you owe the bank money on one product, a loan, an overdraft, a fee, the bank can take the money you owe directly out of any deposit account you hold with them. But your checking, your savings, without asking you first, without a court order, without a phone call. The first notice most people get is the balance being lower than it was the night before. Now, most seniors hear that and think, I do not owe my bank anything, so this is not about me. Stay with me, because here is the version of this that catches grandparents. Co-signing. Let me tell you about Charlene. Charlene is 74. She lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee. 31 years working the front office of a pediatric clinic. She knows every family in her neighborhood by their first names. 2 years ago, her grandson needed a truck to get to a new job. 22 years old. No credit history yet. The dealership said he needed a co-signer. Charlene did what grandmothers do. She signed. And she signed at her own bank. The same bank where she has kept her checking and savings since the first Bush administration. That mattered more than she could have known. The grandson made his payments for over a year. Then his hours got cut. He missed 1 payment, then a second. He was embarrassed. He did not tell her. The bank did not call Charlene either. The bank did not need to. Because Charlene was a co-signer, the debt was legally hers. And because the loan and her savings lived at the same bank, the right of setoff was sitting there, loaded. One Tuesday morning in March, the bank moved $4,100 out of Charlene's savings account to bring the truck loan current. No call, no letter first. A line on a statement. Charlene found out 2 days later when her property tax payment bounced. She stood at the branch counter and asked the question every person in her position asks. How can you take my money without asking me? And the answer was the worst kind of answer, because it was true. You already said yes. Page 19. The day you opened the account. I want to be fair here. The set-off clause is legal. It is standard. And Charlene did owe the debt the moment her grandson stopped paying. But notice what the bank never told her. Not at the account opening, not at the loan signing. Nobody said, if you co-sign here, your savings here becomes collateral in practice. That one sentence would have changed her decision, or at least changed where she kept her savings. And that sentence is worth thousands of dollars, which is exactly why nobody says it. Here is the protection, and it is beautifully simple. Separation. Never keep your main savings at the same bank where you or anyone you co-signed for owes a debt. If you have co-signed anything, a car, a student loan, a personal loan, check today whether that lender and your savings live under the same roof. If they do, open a savings account at a completely separate bank and move the bulk of your cushion there. The set-off clause only reaches accounts inside the same institution. It cannot cross the street. And if a grandchild ever slides loan papers toward you again, know these 3 facts before your pen moves. Fact 1. A cosigner is not a character reference. You owe every dollar the moment they miss one. Fact 2. The lender is not required to chase them first. They can come straight to you, straight to your account if you bank there. Fact 3. There is a gentler way to help. A direct gift toward a down payment costs you a fixed amount once. A co-signature can cost you the whole loan, plus your savings, plus a strained Thanksgiving. Love the grandchild. Read the paper like a stranger wrote it, because a stranger did. One afternoon of paperwork, and the bank loses the ability to pay itself out of your pocket before you have even heard there was a problem. Now pause with me for 1 minute, because Charlene's story is the reason the Quiet Rules exists. The Quiet Rules is a written guide, $27 at kevinexplains.shop, and one of the sections in it is the 2-bank separation plan. Which accounts go where? Which questions to ask before you co-sign anything for a grandchild? And the exact words that make a banker tell you whether your savings is exposed to someone else's loan. Charlene needed 3 sentences from that section. 3 sentences 2 years ago would have kept $4,000 in her savings and her property tax paid on time. If you have ever signed your name next to a family member's, that section alone is worth far more than the price of the guide. kevinexplains.shop. 7 days, full refund if it does not show you something you needed. Thing number 2, the 10-day window your bank hopes you sleep through. If you own a certificate of deposit, a CD, listen closely, because this one is built entirely on your silence. When a CD reaches its maturity date, the day your money is finally free, most banks do not send you a check. They do not call to ask what you would like to do. They give you a grace period, usually 7 to 10 days. And if those days pass without a word from you, the bank automatically rolls your money into a brand new CD. Same term length, locked again. But here is the part they whisper. The new CD does not renew at the rate you signed up for. It renews at whatever the bank's standard rate is that day. And the gap between the rate that got you in the door and the standard renewal rate can be enormous. Let me show you what that looks like in a real kitchen. Wendell is 77, Tulsa, Oklahoma. 38 years as a lineman for the power company, the kind of man who fixed other people's lights in ice storms. 2 years ago, Wendell put $60,000 into an 18-month CD at a promotional rate, just under 5%. Smart move. That is nearly $3,000 a year in interest. Last fall, that CD matured. But last fall, Wendell was flat on his back, recovering from a hip replacement. The maturity notice arrived in a plain envelope that looked like every other statement. It went in the basket by the door. The grace period opened. 10 days. The grace period closed. Silence. And the bank did exactly what page 26 allowed. It rolled his $60,000 into a new 18-month CD at 0.9%. Read those two numbers together. Nearly 5% before, 0.9 after. The first time, same money, same bank, same vault. The only thing that changed was a date on a calendar, while a man recovered from surgery. The difference is roughly $2,400 a year in interest. And when Wendell's daughter caught it 3 months later, the bank offered him one way out, an early withdrawal penalty. Months of interest surrendered to free his own money from a term he never chose. I have read a lot of fine print for this channel, and I will tell you my honest opinion. The Auto-Renewal CD is one of the politest traps in banking. Nothing about it is hidden exactly. It is simply designed around one bet, that you will be busy, or traveling, or sick, or grieving, for 10 specific days. The bank wins that bet constantly. Here is the protection. Every CD you own goes on the wall calendar today. Not your phone, the paper calendar in the kitchen. Write the maturity date. Then write a second date 1 week before it. That second date is your action day. On your action day, you call the bank and give an instruction. Pay it out. Or renew it, but only after they tell you the exact new rate. And you compare it to 2 other banks that same afternoon. And one more move almost nobody uses. Ask the bank to add a maturity instruction on file right now. Most banks let you pre-select. Do not renew, transfer to checking. 1 sentence. And the trap can never close on you again, no matter what is happening in your life that week. One last thing about that renewal rate. The promotional rate that brought you in was advertised on a poster in the window. The renewal rate never gets a poster. You have to ask for it out loud. And here is a small secret from inside the branch. Renewal rates are frequently negotiable. If you say, "The bank down the road is paying more, can you match it?" A surprising number of branches suddenly find a better number. They are betting on your silence. The moment you speak, the bet is off. Thing number 3. The word available does not mean what you think it means. This is the one that turns sellers into debtors. When you deposit a check, your bank shows the money in your balance, often within a day or 2. The app says available. And nearly every senior in America believes available means the check was good. The money is real. It cleared. It does not mean that. Available means the bank is letting you spend it. It does not mean the bank has collected it. A check can bounce a week later, even longer if it is fraudulent. And when it does, the bank does not absorb that loss. The bank pulls the money back out of your account, every dollar of it, plus a fee for the trouble. And if you already spent it, you do not just lose the money, you owe the bank. Gordon learned this selling a boat. Honest A. Gordon is 71, Duluth, Minnesota, retired high school shop teacher. Taught half the town how to use a table saw without losing a finger. Honest A. Last summer, Gordon sold his fishing boat, listed it himself. A polite buyer showed up, looked it over, and paid with a cashier's check for $9,500. Honest A. cashier's check. Gordon's whole generation was raised to believe a cashier's check is the same thing as cash. Honest A. He deposited it Monday. Wednesday, the app said available. So Wednesday, he believed the deal was done. He signed over the title. The boat left on a trailer. Honest A. 9 days later, the check came back. Counterfeit. Honest A. The bank removed $9,500. Honest from Gordon's account. The boat was gone. The buyer's phone number was dead. Honest A. And here is the sentence that stunned him. The bank was allowed to do all of it. Honest A. Under federal availability rules, banks must make funds available on a schedule, usually the first chunk quickly, the rest within days. But available is a spending schedule. It is not a verdict on whether the check is genuine. A fake can take weeks to surface. And your deposit agreement makes you, not the bank, responsible for every check you deposit. Nobody explains that at the counter. The screen just says one soothing word: available. The protection has 2 layers. Layer 1. For any large check from someone you do not know, do not rely on the word available. Ask the branch directly. Has this item actually been paid by the issuing bank? Better yet, for private sales, meet the buyer at their bank and watch the cashier's check be issued in front of you. Or skip checks entirely and use a wire. Wires are collected funds. A wire that lands is real. Layer 2. Never hand over a title, a car, a boat, or goods until the funds are collected. Not available. Collected. 2 different words, thousands of dollars apart. And know the sequel to Gordon's story, because this same trick has a second act aimed straight at polite people. The buyer sends a check for too much. Oops, my assistant wrote it for $12,000 instead of $9,500. Just deposit it and send back the difference. The check is fake. The refund you send is real. You lose the difference and the boat. An overpayment plus a request for a refund is not a clumsy buyer. It is a script. The moment you hear it, the deal is over. Walk away and feel no guilt whatsoever. Thing number 4. The 60-day rule that decides whether fraud is the bank's problem or yours. This is, in my opinion, the most important thing in this entire video because it draws a line through every dollar in your checking account, and almost nobody over 65 knows the line exists. There is a federal rule called Regulation E. It protects you when money is moved out of your account electronically without your permission. A stolen debit card, a hacked login, a transfer you never made. If a thief moves your money and you report it quickly, the bank generally has to make you whole. That is the good news. Now here are the 2 exceptions that quietly move billions of dollars of losses off the banks and onto their customers. Exception 1. The protection only covers unauthorized transfers. If a criminal calls you, pretends to be your grandson in trouble, or a fraud investigator from the bank itself, and frightens you into sending the money yourself through an app like Zelle, the bank can classify that as authorized. You press the button. Therefore, you approved it. Therefore, in the bank's eyes, it is not fraud against the bank. It is a decision by you. The thief lied. The thief manufactured every second of it, and the loss is still yours. Exception 2, the 60-day rule. You have 60 days from the date a statement is sent to you to report an unauthorized transaction on it. Report inside the window, you are protected. Let the window close, and the bank's obligation to cover the losses that follow can drop to 0. 60 days, that is the fuse, and it is burning whether you open the envelope or not. Sylvia found the line the hard way. Sylvia is 76, Fresno, California, 40 years running the office of a family farm equipment dealer, sharp as a tack, balanced books her whole life. One evening her phone rang. The caller ID said the name of her own bank. The young man was calm and professional. He said her account was under attack right now, and to protect her money, she needed to move it to a safe account through Zelle before the thieves finished. He knew her name. He knew the last 4 digits of her card. He kept her on the phone, and he kept her scared. In 40 minutes, Sylvia sent 3 transfers, $11,200. The safe account belonged to the thieves. There was never an attack, until him. When the real bank reviewed it, they pointed to one fact: she authorized the transfers. Reimbursement denied. A woman who never missed a decimal in 40 years lost $11,000, not because she was careless, because a professional criminal aimed a script directly at the kindness and fear of a grandmother. Sylvia's family has a rule now. Any call about money from anyone ends the same way. Thank you, I will call the bank myself. Then she hangs up and dials the number on her card. The rule costs nothing. It would have saved $11,000. And understand why these crews hunt in your age group. It is not because seniors are gullible. Study after study finds older adults are targeted more because they have more savings, more equity, more decades of careful living sitting in one account. The thief is not mocking you. The thief is shopping. And I want to say this part clearly. If something like this has happened to you, you were not stupid. You were targeted. These crews rehearse. You did not stand a chance in the moment. The only defense is before the moment. So here is the before. 3 rules. Meth Rule 1. Treat Zelle and every instant transfer app like cash handed to a stranger. No protection, no undo. Family and people you know in person. Nobody else, ever. Meth Rule 2. The bank will never call you and ask you to move money. Never. That sentence has no exceptions. Anyone who does is a thief, no matter what the caller ID says. Hang up and dial the number on the back of your own card. Meth Rule 3. Open every statement within 1 week of arrival. Read every line. Because of the 60-day rule, reading your statement is not bookkeeping. It is a legal act that preserves your right to your own money. Meth, and if the worst has already happened, do not accept the first no as the final answer. Meth, report it to the bank by phone the same day, and then again in writing, so there is a record with a date on it. Ask in writing for the denial to be reviewed. Meth, file a report at reportfraud.ftc.gov and a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Banks respond differently when a federal complaint number is attached to your file. Some banks have quietly begun refunding certain imposter scams, case by case, especially for customers who push back promptly, politely, and on paper. Not all, not always. But a written, documented, escalated complaint gets a second look that a phone call never does. The paper trail is your leverage. Build it from the first hour. Now, here is where I tell you what I built for exactly this. Inside the quiet rules. There is a section I think of as the 60-day system. It is a simple monthly routine, 1 page, the calendar method for statement review, the exact sentences to say when you call and dispute a charge, and the follow-up letter that creates a paper record, so your report cannot be brushed off or lost. Run the math on it. The guide is $27. 1 caught charge, 1 dispute filed inside the window instead of outside it, and it has paid for itself 10 times over. Sylvia's window was worth $11,000. It is at kevinexplains.shop. If it does not put you in a stronger position with your own bank, Reply to the receipt within 7 days and I refund you. Thing number 5, the contract that rewrites itself while you sleep. Everything we have covered so far lives in your deposit agreement. So here's the question a careful person would ask. Fine, Kevin, I will go read the agreement, then I will know the rules. And here's the answer that should bother you. The version you read today is not a promise, because buried in that same agreement is a clause that says the bank may change the terms. Any term, at any time. The fee schedule, the interest rate, the dispute rules, the order they process your transactions, all of it can be rewritten. And your notice is a disclosure, mailed in an envelope that looks like junk, or a paragraph in tiny print at the bottom of a statement. And here's the mechanism that makes it stick. Continued use equals acceptance. If you keep the account open after the notice, you have legally agreed to the new terms, whether you read them or not. Your silence is your signature. And if you think the order they process your transactions sounds like a strange thing to care about, consider what that clause was historically used for. Some banks used to post the largest debit of the day first, instead of posting payments in the order they happened. Why would order matter? Because draining the account with the big payment first made 3 small payments bounce afterward, instead of 1. 3 overdraft fees instead of 1, from the same day of spending. Regulators pushed back hard on that practice. Many banks changed. But the point stands. Even the sequence of your own transactions was once arranged for the bank's benefit, under authority granted by a page you never read. There is one more clause in that stack worth knowing by name: arbitration. Most deposit agreements now say that if the bank wrongs you, you cannot take them to court in front of a jury. You agreed, years ago, to private arbitration instead, a process the industry itself designed. You gave up a constitutional right, at a counter, while making small talk about the weather. I am not telling you this to make you cynical. I am telling you because the fix takes 12 minutes a year. Once a year, I suggest every January, ask your branch to print the current fee schedule and the current rate on every account you hold. Compare it to last year's. Any envelope from your bank that says, "Important changes to your account," gets opened the day it arrives, not filed. Opened. 12 minutes a year. That is the entire cost of never being governed by rules you have never seen. Quick pause. If you are past the halfway mark of this video, and you are realizing your bank knows these 7 things cold and has simply never once brought them up at the counter, then you understand exactly why this channel exists. Next week's video walks through what happens to a joint account in the 90 days after a spouse passes away, and the 3 moves that protect the surviving husband or wife. If you are not subscribed, that video will never reach you. The algorithm only delivers to subscribers reliably. Take 2 seconds and fix that now. Thing number 6. The person in the suit by the teller line is not there to help you save. Walk into almost any branch in America, and somewhere past the teller windows, there is a desk, a nicer desk, a person in a nicer suit. The tellers call them the financial consultant, or the relationship banker, or the wealth advisor. And when a senior comes in with a maturing CD or a large balance sitting in savings, the teller is often trained to make an introduction. Why don't you have a seat with our advisor? She can get you a better rate than any CD. Here is what nobody says during that friendly handoff. You have just walked out of the banking side of the building and into the sales side. That advisor is very often a licensed securities or insurance salesperson, working on commission or production goals. And the products on that desk, annuities, market-linked investments, insurance hybrids, are not deposits. There is a small placard somewhere near that desk. Federal rules require it. It says, "Not FDIC insured, not bank guaranteed, may lose value." It is the most important sign in the building, and it is roughly the size of a recipe card. Marvin sat at that desk. Marvin is 79, Boise, Idaho. Ran a small print shop for 34 years. Business cards, wedding invitations, church bulletins. 2 years ago, Marvin walked in to renew a CD. $90,000. The teller smiled and walked him to the nicer desk. The advisor was warm, asked about his grandkids, and showed him a product paying more than any CD in the building. An annuity. What Marvin did not absorb in that pleasant hour was the surrender schedule. 9 years. If Marvin needs his own $90,000 back, before he is 88 years old, he pays a surrender charge. In the early years, several percent, thousands of dollars just to reach his own savings. Last year, Marvin needed $40,000 for a new roof and his share of a medical bill. The exit charge was over $3,000. Now, let me be honest and balanced, because this channel deals in accuracy, not panic. Annuities are not evil. For the right person, at the right age, with the right terms, some are genuinely useful. But a 9-year lockup sold to a 77-year-old inside a bank lobby by a person he trusted because of the logo on the door is not planning. It is production. Here is the protection. 3 questions. Ask them out loud at that desk before you sign anything. Question 1. Is this product FDIC insured? Yes or no? Question 2. How are you personally paid if I buy this today? Question 3. If I need every dollar of this money back in 2 years, exactly how much will I pay to get it? Then take the paperwork home. Sleep 2 nights. Anything worth buying will still be worth buying on Thursday. Anyone who pressures you to sign today has just answered all 3 questions for you. And take someone with you to that desk. A son, a daughter, a friend who asks blunt questions. You got that not because you cannot handle it alone, because a salesperson behaves differently when there are 2 sets of ears in the room. The pitch gets shorter, the disclosures get clearer, witnesses improve honesty. That is true at every nicer desk in America. You got that, and remember the core of it. The logo on the door is a bank's logo. The product on the desk may have nothing to do with the bank at all. Trust built over 40 years of deposits. You does not transfer to whatever is inside that glossy folder. Make the folder earn it from 0. You got thing number 7. Go quiet too long. You get in your bank, hands your money to the state. You got that. This is the one that sounds like it cannot possibly be true. So let me say it plainly and then prove it. You got every state in America has a law that requires banks to declare your account abandoned. You get after a period of inactivity. Usually somewhere between 1 and 5 years, depending on the state. Abandoned does not mean empty. It does not mean closed. It means quiet. No deposits you initiated, no withdrawals, no signed contact the bank recorded. Interest posting does not count as activity. The money growing does not count as activity. When the dormancy clock runs out, the bank is legally required to turn your money over to the state's unclaimed property office. While you are alive, while your name is on the account, while you are assuming it is sitting safely where you left it. And it does not stop at accounts. Safe deposit boxes go quiet too. If the rent lapses and letters go unanswered, the bank can drill the box open, inventory what is inside, and ship the contents to the state. Wedding rings, coin collections, the deed to the family plot. Nadine can tell you how this feels. Nadine is 72, Erie, Pennsylvania, widowed 6 years ago after 44 years of marriage. Her husband was a saver. The quiet kind, and like a lot of men of his generation, he kept a little money in more than one place. One of those places was a savings account at a small bank 2 towns over from back when he worked at a plant out that way. About $9,000. He never mentioned it, not out of secrecy, out of it simply never coming up. After he passed, that account went silent. Statements went paperless years earlier, to an email address nobody checked anymore. The dormancy clock started. Nobody heard it ticking. The clock ran out, and the bank did what the law required. $9,000 transferred to the state of Pennsylvania. Now here is the part of this story I need you to hear, because this one, for once, has a good ending. The state did not spend Nadine's money. The state was holding it, waiting, because that is what unclaimed property offices actually are. Not a confiscation program, a lost and found. The states are currently holding more than $70 billion that belongs to ordinary Americans. Old bank accounts, uncashed checks, forgotten utility deposits, insurance payouts that never found their person, contents of safe deposit boxes. Roughly 1 in 7 Americans has something sitting in that pile. In one recent year alone, the states returned about $4.5 billion to people who simply asked. Nadine's daughter found the account with a 5-minute search on a free website. The claim took a few weeks of paperwork. Every dollar came home. And notice the detail that started the whole thing. Paperless statements. The banking industry spent years nudging everyone off paper. It saves them postage. But for a senior household, paper on the kitchen table is a safety system. An unopened email in a forgotten inbox alerts no one. An envelope on the counter gets seen by a daughter on Sunday. If you have accounts you touch rarely, My honest advice is old-fashioned. Keep those on paper statements. The $2 a month some banks charge for paper is the cheapest alarm system you will ever buy. Which brings me to the bonus I promised you. The website is missingmoney.com. It is the official national database, endorsed by the state unclaimed property programs themselves. You can also go through unclaimed.org, which routes you to your own state's official office. Both are free, completely free. Searching is free and claiming is free. Here is exactly how to do this tonight. Search your own name, then your maiden name if you have one. Then every state you have ever lived or worked in. Then, and this is the search that finds the most money for seniors, search the name of a spouse or parent you have lost. Heirs can claim, executors can claim. Old paychecks, a refund from a doctor's office in 1998, a pension check that chased an old address, your late husband's quiet account 2 towns over. 5 minutes, 1 in 7 odds. You will never make a better bet at that price. And so the claim itself does not intimidate you. Here is what the state will typically ask for. For your own property, a copy of your ID and proof of your address, sometimes proof of an old address, an old utility bill, an old tax record, to tie you to where the money was lost. For a late spouse or parent, add a copy of the death certificate and the paperwork showing you are the heir or executor. That is it. No lawyer required for a simple claim. No fee at any step. A few weeks of patience, and the state mails a check for money you did not know you had. And now the scam warning, because the criminals know that pile of money exists too. In 2026, companies are contacting seniors by mail and phone, sometimes calling themselves asset recovery specialists, or claiming to be from an official-sounding property bureau. They say they have located funds owed to you, which may even be true, and they offer to recover it, for a fee, sometimes hundreds of dollars up front, sometimes a 30 or 40% cut of your own money. Here is the one sentence that protects you. You never have to pay anyone to receive your own money from the state. The search is free. The claim is free. The state's own website does everything these companies do. And if anyone demands an upfront fee or says your money expires today, that is the tell. Unclaimed funds are held for you indefinitely. There is no deadline. Anyone selling you urgency is selling you a lie. Hang up. Go to missingmoney.com yourself. Now let me bring all 7 together. One action for each. Get a pen. This is the part that changes your actual accounts instead of just your understanding. Action 1. The Setoff clause. Make a list of every debt that carries your signature, yours, and every loan you have ever co-signed. Next to each one, write the name of the lender. If any lender on that list is also the bank, where you keep your savings, open a savings account at a separate institution this week and move your cushion out of reach. The Setoff clause cannot cross the street. Make sure your money lives across the street. Action 2. The CD calendar. Every CD you own gets 2 dates on the kitchen calendar, the maturity date and an action day 1 week before it. Then call the bank once, this week, and place a standing maturity instruction on file. Do not renew. Transfer to checking. Say those words and the 10-day trap is disarmed forever. Action 3. Available is not collected. Before you ever hand over a title or the goods in a private sale, the money must be collected funds, a completed wire, or a cashier's check you watched being issued, inside the buyer's own bank. If you cannot verify it, you have not been paid yet, no matter what the app says. Action 4. The 60-day habit. Every statement gets opened within 1 week. Every line gets read. Anything you do not recognize gets reported the same day, by phone and then in writing. And make the household agreement tonight. If anyone calls asking either of you to move money, you hang up and you talk to each other first, every time, no exceptions. That one agreement defeats almost every phone scam ever written. Action 5. The January review. Once a year, ask the branch to print your current fee schedule and your current rates. Compare them to last year. Open every envelope marked changes to your account the day it arrives. 12 minutes. That is the whole job. Action 6. The 3 questions at the nice desk. Is it FDIC insured? How are you paid if I buy it? What does it cost me to get every dollar back in 2 years? Then 2 nights of sleep before any signature. A good product survives the weekend. A bad one cannot afford to let you leave the building. Action 7. Stay loud and go looking. Touch every account you own at least once a year. A small deposit, a withdrawal, a signed contact, anything that resets the dormancy clock. Make a list of every account, every institution, and keep it where your family can find it. Then tonight, missingmoney.com, your name, your maiden name, every state you have lived in, and the names of the people you have lost. 5 minutes, 1 in 7 odds. Now, before I close, one quieter thought. Ask yourself why, in 40 years of banking, no one ever mentioned any of this to you. You have sat across from tellers hundreds of times. You have signed renewals, updates, new cards, hundreds of small conversations, and not one of them included the sentence, "By the way, here is how the set-off clause could reach your savings." Or, "Just so you know, that renewal rate will be a fraction of this one." The answer is not that bankers are villains. The answer is simpler and colder. There is no commission on a warning. Every sentence in this video costs the bank money when you hear it. The separated savings they cannot touch. The CD they cannot quietly roll over. The annuity that goes home for 2 nights of sleep and never comes back. The dormant $9,000 that gets claimed instead of forgotten. Nobody gets a bonus for telling you, so the telling was never going to come from inside the building. It had to come from somewhere else. That is the entire reason this channel exists. Everything in this video came out of documents that are technically available to anyone. The deposit agreement, the fee schedule, the disclosure envelopes. The system is not hiding these rules in a vault. It is hiding them in plain sight, inside 40 pages of gray print, betting correctly that nobody reads gray print. That is the whole trick, not a conspiracy, a bet on your attention. And the reason I wrote the quiet rules is that your attention should not have to cover 40 pages. It is the short version, the pages that matter, in plain English, in large print. The 2-bank separation plan from Charlene's chapter, the statement routine from Sylvia's, the 3 questions from Marvin's desk, the account list your family will one day be grateful you kept, $27 at kevinexplains.shop, and I will tell you the truth about who it is really for. Half the people who buy it are not buying it for themselves. They put it in the drawer next to the important papers, so that the people they love have the rule book when the day comes that they need it. It is written down, so nobody in your house has to remember any of this. 7-day money-back guarantee, always. If you want me to look at your specific situation personally, email me at kevinexplainsofficial@gmail.com. And do one last thing before you go. Think of the person in your life who keeps a CD at the same bank they have used for 40 years, who still believes a cashier's check is cash, who answers the phone politely every single time. Send them this video. Not because it is mine, because one of these 7 things has their name on it already. The set-off, the rollover, the 60 days, the quiet account 2 towns over. You just cannot know which one yet. They cannot either. That is exactly how the bet works. Break the bet. I am Kevin. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to check the quiet rules at kevinexplains.shop